So I remember in 2014, I attended my first photography workshop. It was a free workshop hosted at a local church here, right here where I live. And it was hosted by Ben Kiruthi, a celebrated wedding photographer. I'd been encouraged to go for this workshop by a friend, and he told me that, you need to do this because it will kind of give you more insight into what photography can be and what it can become for you. Having, listened to Ben Kiruthi's talks before, I was like, yeah, sure, let me go see it, because I would want to see if the money is where Ben Kiruthi's mouth is. So I went for the workshop. The workshop was great. I really was amazed by some of the work that Ben was doing, and that really encouraged me to, pursue photography further. I was so inspired to the extent that 6 months later, in 2015, May of 2015, I bought myself a camera, and it's the camera I'm actually shooting on. So since 2014, I would say I've been doing photography for the last 5 years, and it has been a lot of work. It has been days and nights of living, breathing, working, and just doing a lot of creative stuff. It's also been a nerve-wracking journey, trying to figure out what to do. It's also been frustrating, trying to figure out how to work through it in terms of a business. So all these things are experiences that I've gathered in 5 years. Now, the reason I'm actually giving you this backstory is related to the title of today's video, which is Myths and Misconceptions with Creativity. I believe that everyone is creative, but I think a lot of us don't know what creativity involves. Last year, I bought a book by Jeff Goins called Real Artists Don't Starve, and in this book, he has a few myths and misconceptions that he demystifies. And today I wanted to talk about the one that I think stops a lot of us from being as creative as we should be. And the first myth that a lot of people have on creativity is that artists are born and they are not made. If I am to go back to my story, before 2014, photography was nowhere on the list of things that I wanted to do with my life. Photography was not known to me. I didn't even think about it. I think the first time I ever interacted with a professional camera was in 2011. A friend of mine actually had a professional camera, but then I was like, I don't think I can afford this. But 4 years later, I found myself buying a professional camera, and it's because I think throughout my life, I had always been looking for what it is that I could do or what it is that I could create. And somehow, it just happened to be this. So I think it was just a mistake that, I would say it was a mistake, or I stumbled upon it accidentally. And I just found that I really enjoyed it. Between 2014 and as we come to the end of 2019, there has been significant change in my work, and that significant change has happened because I have actually put in the time, I've actually put in the money, and I've actually taken the time to interact with very many different people and really just get their perspectives on how to become a better photographer. At this point, I wouldn't argue that I am the best photographer out there, but I am definitely better than I was 5 years ago, and I'm sure in the next 5 years I will be better than I will be by the end of 2019. I think one of the things that most of us need to understand is that creativity involves working. Creativity is not something that you're automatically born with. There are those exceptions in society who will somewhat seem to be born with a skill, but at the end of the day, it is hard work that pays off over talent. So at this point, I think it is important to talk about the rule of recreation. So the rule of recreation simply states that artists are made and they are not born, which is a complete deviation from what society's idea of what an artist and what creativity is. It's sort of really completely different. But the rule of recreation gives us the freedom to completely reimagine and recreate who we are at whatever point we are in life. So when I talk about the rule of recreation, the person that comes to mind is Victor Peace, who was a Kenyan lifestyle photographer, but at some point in 2018 he decided to go into digital media, I'm not sure, and he's just had this complete transformation from being a photographer to providing a completely different type of product to people. And that's what the rule of recreation basically means and basically involves. Now, the rule of recreation is what I call the reference or guiding mantra for any artist in their creative endeavors. If you're at the beginning of your creative endeavors or you've already started the journey and you're somewhere down the road, I think it is important that you move forward having three things at the back of your mind. The first thing that you're going to have at the back of your mind is that you're going to have to break some rules. Now, Jeff Goins says that creativity thrives when things are done differently. So you're probably going to have to approach things from a different perspective, or try out new techniques, or even just sort of get out of your comfort zone and try to approach things differently. That way you will find that creativity will thrive and that you'll be able to sort of really find your creative calling. So the second thing you're going to need to have at the back of your mind as you're starting your journey is that you're going to have to take the right risks. And when I talk about risk, I am talking about pursuing your creative endeavor full-time, or keeping your job and pursuing your creative endeavor. And I know this is a topic that has been talked about by so many people. There are so many YouTube videos I've watched on this topic, and people have varying thoughts and ideas on this. But in my opinion, I think it is all a matter of which risk are you willing to take. Now, global statistics show that 33% of all those people who've pursued their creative endeavors full-time have failed. But the same statistics globally also show that all those individuals who pursued their creative endeavors while still holding down a full-time job found it easier to switch from their full-time job to their creative endeavor. It takes a lot longer, but it still happens. So at the end of the day, I think it is all about which risk you're willing to take. So the third and final thing that I think you need to move forward knowing is that you need to have a lot of self-actualization. And to be honest, I compare self-actualization to salvation. So self-actualization simply means being aware of the person that you have been and acknowledging the person that you are becoming. Initially, when I started photography, I never outright came out and said, you know what, I'm a photographer. I always kind of wanted to keep it from people. But over time, as I became more and more confident with what I was doing, it became easier for me to come out and say, you know what, I'm a photographer. So over time, I realized, I was aware of the person that I was before. It was holding me back for a bit, but over time I acknowledged the person I was becoming and owned who I was. And I think that's the most important thing as an artist, is to own your title as the artist that you are. So guys, that concludes this video. I hope you guys found it as insightful as I think it should be. And other than that, if you feel you'd like to continue with this conversation, you can leave a comment in the comment section below. I think my email address is in one of these YouTube things. I'm not sure. Yeah, you can send me an email. We can talk about it. Or alternatively, you could follow me on Instagram at MissionnyDerek. Yeah, that's I have so many. I have 2 accounts. Yeah, at MissionnyDerek. That's the one I think I want people to. You know what, here's the thing. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in another video some other day. Bye bye. As an artist, so forward with your creative endeavors. Now, I've completely forgotten what I wanted to say. So the third